Hello and welcome to the first Edic Drawing Challenge of Baby Lockdown. The first theme I've chosen is rain, something we're all familiar with but maybe have never thought of as a subject matter for a drawing or a painting before. So here are a few examples of how the subject could be approached and a few words about the technique used. The first example is done with brush and ink. I was out walking the dog in the middle of a downpour, soaked to the skin. And it occurred to me that rather than be miserable about it, I should make it into the subject of a drawing or a painting. The drawing was done quickly with little detail to mimic how we see things when the rain obscures our vision. I built the drawing up using thin ink at first to help give a sense of distance, and gradually darkened the ink towards the foreground. The rain was also put on in layers, from thin to thicker ink, to help with the idea of the rain falling behind and in front of the figure. Example 2 is a woodcut by the Japanese artist Utagawa Hiroshige. Hiroshige uses long, thin strokes to depict the rain and has his figures bending into it with various head coverings. Being a woodcut, the colours are simple and flat with strong outlines, and this style might suit manga pens or a drawing app on an iPad or a tablet. The third example is a pastel drawing. Again, I was out walking the dog and was struck by the colours of the lights and pedestrian crossing and the reflections on the wet road. The key to this drawing is the use of dark paper, allowing me to concentrate on the lights and reflections. Again, the drawing is minimal, with only a few perspective lines to give the sense of the road disappearing into the darkness. I used soft, chalky pastels for this drawing, but I think oil pastels would work just as well. Example 4 was done by Emma. It's a small watercolour. I'll let Emma describe how she went about creating this wee picture.
This watercolour painting is of a building in the Trongate area taken from across the street. You can easily find a similar composition when you're out for a walk or even something framed by the view from your window. I started this painting by selecting a few colours from the buildings themselves, such as purple, blue and orange. I lightly filled in the pavements and buildings and finalised their scale. I then loosely placed in the windows and added a decent amount of water to the paper to allow for the colours to bleed. When adding a decent amount of water like this, it's a good idea to have a dry brush handy. Add some strokes with a dry brush in the direction of the rain to give your painting an initial sense of weather. Building this process up over time will give the image a nice depth. Allow the rain to be described using the colours of the building. I like the idea that the water would take on the colour in passing as the light has hit it. This charcoal drawing is the view from the front window of Edict looking onto Cross Court. Huge puddles have formed and cast the plants in reflection, so I chose to isolate the plants and the puddle in this study. I gradually built up tone in this drawing, and particularly in the puddle, I kept the charcoal in constant motion in order to maintain a sense of movement. I added the rain last. If you have a putty rubber, press a small piece between your fingers to create the strokes of rain. Alternatively, use the edge of a normal rubber. You can also use a thin piece of charcoal to highlight certain parts of the rain passing through lighter areas of your drawing. Good luck with your artworks, and I hope you find these instructional videos helpful.